Good evening, everyone. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our Township website. Please stand to salute the flag.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Prupus? Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Here.
Mr. Stoller?
Present.
Mayor Romano?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we consider approval of the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to revise the agenda and add a resolution 24-129 titled "A Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Millburn permitting commemorative flags to be raised as an expression of government speech."
I'll second that. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as revised?
So.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. May I have a motion to approve the April 2nd, 2024 regular Township Committee minutes? May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the April 2nd, 2024 special Township Committee minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Proclamation. Okay, so we have the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. And today we have with us Supervisor Brittany Guerrero Wade, Communications Operator Christian Chulo, sorry, and Alexander Leontowitz from the Mountain Valley Emergency Communications Center, and Committeeman Stoller is scheduled to present the proclamation.
Okay, will I present it on the dais or? Testing. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS personnel is critical to protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who contact the Mountain Valley Emergency Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunications are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical services by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators of the Mountain Valley Emergency Communication Centers have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job this year. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Millburn, New Jersey, hereby proclaim the week of April 14th through the 20th, 2024 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And join us in honoring the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our borough and citizens safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, reports. Committeeman Stoller, would you like to go first?
Sure. Recreation Committee, T-ball, girls recreation, softball, youth cricket clinics start this week. Reminder to all residents that pool memberships are due before May 1st to get the free guest passes. Discounts are available for individuals who register for multiple memberships, pool, golf, tennis, and pickleball. Explore's next board meeting is on Thursday, April 18th at 6:30 in this same room. Stafford Media Consultant Training Session is on Friday, April 26th at 12:30 p.m. In person at Town Hall. And the Bhakti Barn Birthday Bash, Milburn's favorite yoga studios, is celebrating their 14th anniversary on Sunday, April 28th. Free classes begin at 8:30 a.m. and go through 4:30 p.m. Vendors will be on site from noon to 4 p.m. There'll be an evening devotional concert at 6 p.m. For more information, follow up on Instagram. Affordable housing, Jared Cantor is going to give an overview today of where we are. And then as just a final report, it's with a heavy heart that we announced the passing of David Stone on the morning of Friday, April 12th, 2024, after battling pancreatic cancer for nearly 18 months. He was a devoted husband, father, and grandfather, cherished by his family, friends, and community. David married his high school sweetheart, Nancy, and they established the esteemed jewelry business, Nancy and David Fine Jewelers. Their store is downtown Milburn. It's been there since 1998. They also donated a town clock that you see on the corner outside whenever you go by. David leaves behind his beloved wife of 41 years. They were actually, as I said, high school sweethearts. So may the memory of David Stone forever be a blessing, and may his legacy of love, passion, creativeness, and resiliency continue to inspire us all in Milburn.
Thank you. Committeeman Cohen?
Yeah, I'll be brief. Just wanted to say this is the last week to make donations for the annual library book sale, which will be held on Saturday and Sunday, May 4th and 5th. Saturday is all day, 8:30 to 5, and then Sunday it's 1 to 4:30. So if anybody's still looking to do their spring cleaning, the library certainly would like to take the donations for the annual book sale.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Saccomandi.
Sure. So the Environmental Commission held an information session about ways to reduce the environmental impact of lawn care this month. This was a great first session, and residents that attended were able to engage in a robust discussion about the issue. We heard from environmental advocates about ways to phase out 2-cycle gas-powered lawn equipment. We also heard from landscapers about perceived challenges they would face as a result of the phase-out. This is clearly a complex issue with a lot of moving parts, and the Environmental Commission plans on having additional sessions on the topic in the future. In May, they're going to be having a session that's geared towards landscapers, and we're going to try to get all of the landscapers that work in town to come and participate in that. So, that date is to be determined. Once it's available, we'll put that out there publicly. Earth Day there's going to be an Earth Day event on April 28th. That's going to be at Taylor Park in the Bauer Center between 12 and 3. It's open to the public, and a lot of the programming is focused on kindergarten through 5th grade for most of the activities. So if that's of interest to you, please come check it out. The planning board met earlier this month and unanimously passed a resolution finding the Short Hills Village Historical District designation, which is on for second read tonight, to be not inconsistent with the district plan. And for those of you not familiar with this planning board phrase, it basically means the planning board approved of the designation. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Just a few brief reports, letting the public know that on Thursday evening, April 18th, we'll have a flood resiliency presentation. Information can be found on the website. This is at 7 p.m. via Zoom with 2 special guest speakers, and it will be moderated by Fire Chief Rob Echeverria, who is the Township's OEM coordinator. Also tomorrow at noon, there will be a police information session on from the police department, speaking about the ways that they are protecting residents from home burglaries and car thefts, and also ways for residents to protect themselves from home burglaries and car thefts. Some just important information from the Milburn PD. In addition, many people have noticed that Washington section has been milled. This is the restoration done by PSE&G for all the months of work that they've been going through. We just ask people to continue to be patient. We do expect paving within the week for those roads that have been milled. A reminder to those on Church and Ocean and Mechanic that the township is performing those jobs, and we'll be milling and paving them over the summer. The rest of our 2024 road reconstruction projects will also be bid out late April, early May for a June, July start, hopefully to not impact the schools before they let out. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Cantor?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. So as everybody's aware, or maybe aware, we were in court on April 9th on our fair share housing case. What was before the court were motions from Fair Share Housing Corporation, RPM, the designated developer, and the township. All motions sought to enforce a settlement agreement. RPM and Fair Share Housing had motions to enforce certain court orders. And I guess I'm gonna try to go slow and try to explain what happened and the township's position. First off, I think it's clear that the township fully intends to fulfill its fair share housing obligation. And I think that came through in all the papers and all the hard work that this committee and its professionals have done throughout the process. So ultimately, a lot of people are asking who won, and I think that's a good narrative as to who won. So our RPM and Fair Share Housing Corporation were saying that the township violated the settlement agreement materially by not meeting certain dates within the settlement agreement, violated court orders that we were ordered to do certain things by certain dates, and the township had not done that. The township countered by saying that the dates in the agreement, for instance, that December 31st, 2021, was so far in the past that clearly both sides consented to an extension of those dates and we shouldn't be held to those dates. And ultimately, the township has found 9 Main Street not to be a feasible site. Fair Share Housing Corporation and the developer countered and said that the township has acted in bad faith, that 9 Main Street is a realistic site to be built, and that the court should force us to build there. Ultimately, the court found that the township did violate a settlement agreement because we didn't complete certain things a couple of years ago in 2021. There were certain court orders in which the court found that we didn't comply with, like entering into a redevelopment agreement by December 16th last year. It was hard to argue with the township that we complied with certain dates when clearly those dates have passed, those actions are not taken. But when we talk about the outcome and what we wanted to accomplish, and what the township wanted to accomplish was to find a realistic opportunity to put its affordable housing obligation and meet it. And what we were asking the court as our remedy was, court, please give us 90 days to find the realistic alternative. That's what the township asked the court to do that day. And I just want to go through some of the things that Fair Share Housing Corporation asked the court to do. Fair Share Housing Corporation asked the court to find the township daily until the redevelopment agreement had been implemented and the zoning had been passed. Fair Share Housing also asked that individual council members be fined. Fair Share Housing Corporation asked the court that all zoning, land use, and development ordinances be suspended until we do these activities. Fair Share Housing Corporation also asked the court to order that no development applications of any kind shall be reviewed by the township until we enter into the redevelopment agreement and start building on 9 Main Street. RPM, again, asked that the court order this committee to enter into an RDA, to enter into a financial agreement, and force the township into those agreements and force the township into building 9 Main Street. And ultimately, what the court ordered was, although we violated the settlement agreement, that alternative sites can be looked at. The court denied the remedies that RPM sought and Fair Share Housing sought. So although the court found that the township of Millburn violated certain court orders and was not in compliance with the agreement, it went into the agreement. We were arguing, and some of you had the agreement, that we fell into G, which is as soon as we determined that 9 Main Street was not feasible, that we as a township could look for realistic sites. What the court ordered was we were actually in J. So we did not supply that timely, So the court appointed a special master to basically take our suggestions and find another realistic site, including 9 Main Street if that site is deemed realistic. As those who have found the cases, the township has looked for realistic sites. We were working with the special master to meet our obligations. The court was clear that those affordable units need to be in the downtown. So we need to find 75 units in the downtown, and we're working with that court-appointed special master to do that. But realistically, although the court may have ruled ultimately finding that the township was in default of the settlement agreement and certain court orders, it was really a battle over relief and what relief would be sought and how this would be remedied. And what the township really wanted to do was to take control of its affordable housing obligation, put those 75 units in a location. And again, it comes down to the obligation of the affordable housing. Site, the DPW site, 9 Main Street, the dump site, whatever you want to call it, was not a feasible site. It was not realistic. You would not get 75 affordable units there in any time frame, if ever. And what the township is looking to do is to fill its obligation in a better way, find sites that are more beneficial, that can create a more realistic opportunity and get done quicker. So in that regard, the township, with its goal in mind to complete its affordable housing obligation as swiftly as possible, believes that although we're not saying we won, but what we're saying is it's an outcome that we believe is better for the residents of the township of Millburn and better for those future residents who will fall into the affordable housing category. So in that regard, although we ask that we not be found to be non-compliant with the orders and the settlement agreement, the ultimate outcome, I think, to this committee and this governing body is acceptable, and that is what we wanted to do. We want to find realistic sites that can bring affordable housing to the township of Millburn. So that's basically my report, Mayor, but I'll take any questions from the committee if there are any.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cantor? No?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so just going to remind everyone that Founding Day is just about a month away, presented by the Cultural Engagement, Diversity and Arts Committee, CEDA, on Saturday, May 18th from 12 to 3. The rain date is on Sunday, the 19th at Taylor Park and Bauer Center, and Taylor Park's also celebrating its 100th birthday. So there's going to be live 19th century music, Millville Community Art Project, the environmental education, yard games, chalk, chess, music and dance, historical tours, Taylor Park cleanup in the morning, some refreshments throughout the day. We are still looking for volunteers, so if anyone would like to volunteer that day, you can email mshceda@gmail.com. So the event, like I said, 11 o'clock in the morning with the park cleanup, with the Environmental Commission. The mill wheels will be on display from 12 to 3. We have 12 community organizations that have participated. So please mark your calendars and we hope to see you there. Okay. Public comment. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and or property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and are readily available to the public. For the convenience of our community, there is a remote option. If you called in and would like to comment, please press *6 now. If you are attending by computer or electronic device, please click the raise hand button and be sure your video is on when you comment. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put into the queue to address the committee. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there are 30 seconds remaining. A reminder, this is not a time for dialogue or to debate a matter, and this is a time during our business meeting for the public to offer comments. I will now open the public comment period.
Hello, Township Committee, Igor Vishnevetsky, 180 Myrtle Avenue, Millburn. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here with us today. I wanted to just briefly share that I support the motion that was passed at the beginning of the meeting about raising a flag up specifically. I'd like to ask that an Israeli flag go up in front of our town hall and that it stay there for a considerable period of time. The reason for that is because Israel is a ally of our nation. It's a nation that is under great stress right now, given the actions of what happened on October the 7th with the attack. I just came back from a 2-week trip to Israel where I volunteered with an organization called Sarel. If anyone's interested in learning more, I can share more, but it's an organization that helps those in Israel affected by what just happened. In my travels, I met with people of all faiths, of the Christian faith, the Muslim faith, and of course the Jewish faith. I met people that are not religious. I met people who love differently than the way I love, and people of all different races and ethnicities from all over the world. And everyone I met with, including the father whose daughter was raped at the Nova Film Festival prior to being murdered, is very supportive to our nation, and that's the flag of our nation. I get very happy when I see the flag of our nation go up, and I think if that flag could go up alongside our flag, that would make many members of our town happy and proud that we live here. So I just wanted to say that this is a morally significant issue for many of us in town. I would be very supportive of it, and I thank you for your time and consideration. God bless America. I'm Israel Chai.
Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. Second. My name is Jeffrey Feld. I live in a poet section. I am a pre-Midtown direct citizen, and I am a proud complainer. I'm going to start talking about the agenda. First of all, about the bill list. There's a question, we heard the narrative from the municipal attorney. I hope that the township gets a copy of the transcript of the whole argument in the hearing and let the public decide really what happened. Because the judge did find in the order that we acted in bad faith. One of the things is oversight of our professionals. This goes back to Mariziti Falcon. I made an Oprah request. I just don't understand, about like some of the things. I feel like we're dealing with the CIA now, that there's redactions on everything that we get, that there's no way really to monitor, what is being done and the work product of our municipal attorney. As to topology, if you look at their bill list payment, there's a payment for about the rent control inventory. And why are you paying for something if it hasn't been shared with the public, or have you received it? It seems like we give money out, but we don't get anything in return. On your agenda, there's a bid for some parking lot work. What parking lot? I mean, I don't think that's hard, that we should know which parking lot that you're fixing. Is it the paper mill one? If it's the paper mill one, why are we doing work before we acquire it? We have not done an acquisition ordinance for that property. What's the status of 22 East Willow Street? Did we close? How did we fund it? I am a supporter of Israel, but the questions I have as to the walk-on resolution is not about whether I support Israel or not. It's about the rule of law. One, I would like to know from our municipal attorney, what is the emergent health, public safety issue requiring this ordinance resolution to be just told to us here before? Why isn't it told us on Monday? Two, a resolution. What's the lifetime of this? Does this expire on December 31st of this year? And that we have to adopt a policy? Because there's a question, if you're adopting a policy is done by ordinance. And it seems like we've gone back in time to many people that are in the room to the first meeting in September 2020 for Black Lives Matter, flag raising. I wish Tara was here because she could defend what happened. What is the policy? I'm not against Israel. I support Israel, but we have to understand the rule of law, how we do things. And Mr. Cantor, you should tell me whether the Open Public Meetings Act, whether this is being done properly under that, and whether this is going to just expire after 1 year in its proper way. If we're going to do this forever, it's done by ordinance. And I'll speak later about what happened yesterday at Bear Properties Case Management Conference.
Hi, Diane Eglo, Township resident. I agree with the TC's decision not to close Main Street this summer. The orange Jersey barriers are unsightly. Traffic north and south on Main Street becomes unbearable. By 9:30 p.m., downtown and Main Street are empty and dark, and yet Main Street remained closed and shuttered for 24/7 for 60 days. I was a volunteer for 15 years on our town's first aid squad. Until you are in the back of a rig going lights and sirens with or without paramedics performing advanced life saving, you cannot understand how every minute counts. It's harrowing. The Standard, while not the intended beneficiary of the Main Street closure, absolutely more than doubled their capacity for what, a $400 fee I heard? Perhaps they would donate all their lovely tables and tents to the town as a thank you for their past 3 years of benefits. Old topic, paper mill. I was the first resident to bring the hubris of the paper mill request for a no strings attached ask of $7.5 million gift from the township. I am pleased, in essence, they were forced to make what seems like concessions. They will continue to pay their lease because that was the original deal with the 2008 bailout. That's not a concession. That's their obligation that they wanted to renege on. It's fair that the town will receive the new parking revenue from the acquired lot because now the town reimbursed them for that. I'm disappointed that the board had not made any other financial concessions. Both directors' salaries are preposterous for a regional theater, $350,000 each. And the $40 million construction project that, according to Mr. Stotts, the town will reap the benefits. If that is so, I have a very serious proposal. I would like to propose that the paper mill formally change their name to the Milburn Theater Playhouse. Milburn is known to be the most affluent town in New Jersey, and its reputation is renowned. I am told that people from India and China look up Milburn Township and looking to move to the States. That is a fact. So I believe, since you believe the Playhouse is worthy of another multi-million-dollar cash infusion, it is more than fitting that the name change to the Milburn Theater Playhouse is fitting. And I'm not saying that facetiously. The other thing is, I see that we are a tree city, which I find also kind of preposterous since there are no trees in downtown. Milburn Avenue is void of trees. I think that is something that really has to be addressed. Other thing, when we got the speed hump on Ridgewood Road by Ivy, we were told we'd be getting a crosswalk there. Is that slated? Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dave Cosgrove, resident. Wanted to comment on ordinance second reading 2667-24. And just urge that, I support that and thank the people who worked on that for all the hard work on that, and urge all of you to vote yes on that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jay Morale, Township resident. I'd like to start tonight by thanking all on the Township Committee for their efforts on behalf of the community. A few kudos. First, the mill and pave work, not only in the Washington section, but in the Gunwood section has started as well, as per the Township website. Very much appreciated. It would be awesome if the rest of the work schedule for the spring and summer could be added to the website. Next, to Committeeman Stoller for his comments regarding groupthink and the importance of diversity of opinion. If a committee is only made up of members that support the opinion of the committee chair, what's the point of having a committee? Just appoint a chair and let them make all the decisions. And related kudos to Mayor Romano for saying publicly that she would support a candidate selected by a majority, even if it wasn't her choice. And not only that, but she had already done it. It would be great to hear all of the committee members make that pledge, not just the mayor. So kudos, Mayor Romano. On the topic of selection to committees, it was disheartening to hear some members of the public speak against a candidate based on their professional background. And I know other objections were raised, but I'm specifically talking about their professional experience. Those that volunteer to serve seldom have professional background in the area they volunteer. They have an interest. They likely have spent significant time and effort learning about the topic. They attend meetings, asking questions. They do research, but generally don't have a professional background? How many members of the zoning and planning boards have been professional planners or architects? How many rec commission volunteers have professional sports management experience or degrees in physical education? How many people on the shade tree committee have been foresters or arborists? How many on the TC have a degree or experience in municipal law or planning? I trust the TC makes decisions based on many factors, and I hope that professional experience is not a disqualifying factor. Thank you.
Anyone before we go online?
Susan Vallis, Milburn resident. Okay, so you all know why I'm here. I understand Main Street is going to remain open yearly. I have to applaud this decision. I am looking forward to its new location, which is also used for the Milburn Street Fair. I am disappointed, however, in the 546 people who signed a petition to close it. I do believe that if they had experienced what my family had, they may reconsider that a life is worth more than having fun. We all want to have fun, I get it, but not at the price of someone's life. Someone mentioned that a street is to go to and not through. At your, I believe it was on the article Tap Into, so it must have been during a meeting. Well, a street is really to get from point A to point B. It's not for entertainment. We have to get the vehicles through in an emergency. The most logical place to carry the fun and entertainment is at the Town Hall Plaza, not Main Street, the main roadway to a hospital. The businesses will do just fine, like they have all winter long, like they did before COVID. They will do fine. Why put someone's life at risk? I do have to say thank you for keeping it open all year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go online. We're gonna go online, just hold tight. Good evening.
Hello, I'm just starting my video. If you give me 1 second, thank you so much. I apologize, I've got too many windows open. Okay, I don't need to see myself. Hey, everybody, I hope you're all having a great night. I'm just going to read a little thing that I wrote. I want to start out with my by unpacking a little bit around the subject of shame management in politics. In almost every township meeting, someone who has succumbed to the illness of toxic positivity lashes out at the many people whom I have come to see as Milburn's friends and allies against systemic corruption within our township governance. They whisper in almost every township meeting the tyrannous words of shame to try to shrivel our spirit, passion, and drive for the truth. They call us complainers, whiners, extremists, or Karens, a derogatory yet popular colloquialism that conjures up the image of a white middle-aged woman with highlighted hair that leaves you in the dust with their fuss. Don't ever utter those words in my presence, as they reflect on those who do. I'm not saying the committee's saying these things. I'm just saying there's been a lot of comments from the public. The many people who come to these meetings are very skilled intellectuals that do heavy research into the inner workings of Milburn Township and take the time to review the township's intended decisions and strategies in advance to steer the ship that Milburn is away from the rocks and into the calm seas at sunset. Consider us the palace guards that protect Milburn from the persecution of villains who give away pieces of us to developers, to Essex County and statewide political interest, investors, among other unscrupulous bodies who vitiate the essence of Milburn. The good people, we are good people and passionate and intrinsically care deeply in our soul about the future of our collective home, Milburn. I'm proud to be surrounded by such talent and ethics emanating from each of these persons who embodies the power to stand up and speak logically without fear to do what is best for Milburn. As I continue to open my eyes, I cannot help seeing a lot of negligence and political chess that continues to occur for the benefit of others who are not residents of this community. The township employees and committees should not be financing any projects other than taxpayers and residents' needs. A good example is crime. Frank and Ben are very focused on making our township safe. Are the other people on the dais focused on this? There have been 3 robberies in the Fairfield section recently, and a creative and concerned township resident took matters into his own hands, and I commend him for it, to prevent future robberies. A group of close to 40 or so residents got together in the Fairfield Estates section, hired a security guard. I'm not participating, but a lot of people are, to patrol our neighborhood through only providing protection for the residents that have financially contributed to it. It appears the annual salary for the security guard tops off at $102K. So if all 100 homes approximately participated, it would be about $1,000 annually for our share. Right now, for these 40 residents, it's about $2.5K annually. In addition, the homeowners have political campaign-sized lawn signs.
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
30 more seconds?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, I'll finish it up later. Thank you so much, Annette.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear us? Ms. Sherman, can you hear us? Oh, there she is.
Sorry, good evening. A quick question, please. Sarah Sherman, resident. The resolution that was proposed at the beginning of the meeting, which stated that it would permit commemorative flags to be flown. I think it would be helpful for that term to be defined, because the first speaker during public comment spoke about flying a national flag. I'm not objecting. I'm just asking that given our, let's say, history in the past here, with very controversial attempts to fly the Black Lives Matter flag. I know we do fly the rainbow flag. I would regard that as a commemorative flag of some kind. It is flown for a limited period of time. And I think that's a part of our township now. We have a ceremony to go with it. What exactly is meant by a commemorative flag? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, whoever wanted to come back to speak right now.
Hi, Dominique Urso, resident. I know that in some shape or form, we all experience loss, but in this town, I wanted to ask if we can have a moment of silence and everyone can stand and people can participate online for 2 prominent people in the town that passed away, both Chris Palumbo and David Stone. They're both amazing residents and business owners that have had a big imprint on this town. I know have touched many people. So in respect, is that possible we could do that? Okay, sure. Thank you. When would you like to do that?
You could do that right now.
Now would be appropriate if we all could stand. Sorry if that's too much to ask. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Charles Bambara, resident of Milburn Short Hills for 27 years. Being that my comments are public record, I just want to go on public record that once again, speaking for many residents in town, we are appalled and object to the characterization of Milburn Township residents and the volunteers on our township committee by RPM developers as being elitist, uncaring, and unwelcoming. Search the public records. No one has ever spoke out against bringing lower income families or persons into our town, ever. No one has ever objected to the concept or need for fair share housing. We objected to the manner in which a problematic polluted site was forced upon us and our future residents. We objected to unrealistic timeframes. Never did we object to welcoming needy people into this town into fair share housing. I just want to make that on public record, and I hope RPM Developers is listening, because I personally am appalled by your conduct.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, I will now close public comment. The Township Committee will now consider consent, oh, I'm sorry. Deputy Mayor, would you like to comment, public comment?
Sure. So Mr. Feld, you've complained about the redactions in the bills. It's my understanding that the legal bills, the particular line items may have sensitive descriptions in them. Perhaps Mr. Cantor can comment as well, but you know, it's my understanding that that's why those are redacted, because if it's time spent on, you know, matters that are due to ongoing litigation, it's best not to put that out there. Let's see. The status of 22 East Willow Street, hopefully Mr. McDonald can provide an update on that, because I'm curious as well. Let's see. Ms. Aglow, thank you for your comments about the Main Street closure. I think a lot of us are delighted that we were able to find a solution that allows for a number of different businesses in town to participate in, you know, the new street closure, and the new area that we've designated is going to be a lot less disruptive, and is certainly going to be a lot safer from an emergency perspective. So I think that was a great compromise, and I think it's going to be a really great experience this summer by Town Hall Plaza. Let's see here. Mr. Morreale, so I see that you felt the need to weigh in on how we do the committee appointments. You know, I said this last time, and I'll say it again. A municipal land use board is different from other committees in that the municipal land use boards, and specifically the HPC, if you actually look at the ordinance that says how the committee members are supposed to be picked, it says that they're actually, you know, they would prefer to have people that had an architectural background, a design background, et cetera, you know, skills relevant to the board position. In the case of the individual, you know, that came before us at the last meeting, that individual did not have any of those backgrounds. So I think that's an important distinction to make. Let's see. Ms. Best, you took issue with those in the audience that may refer to others as complainers. I agree. I think that residents should not refer to one another about complainers. For residents to come and take the time to come to a meeting shows that they're concerned about something, or you know, they're engaged with our community and have thoughts or information that they want to share. And yes, people that tend to not be in agreement with what's going on in town are potentially going to be more vocal, and we respect that and we encourage that. It's important to hear all different voices. So I really hope that members of the audience would refrain from referring to one another as complainers. Perhaps, you know, some of the people that come up to speak that refer to themselves as complainers could set an example by not referring to themselves as complainers, because I think that just gives other members of the audience permission to do the same. Let's see. For Ms. Sherman's question, so the commemorative flag, I agree that could use some clarification, but if you look further on in the resolution, it clearly lists a number of different types of flags that would be flown. And so I think in this case, it specifically lists the national flag of the state of Israel. So I think that makes that pretty clear. And Mr. Bambera, I appreciate your comments, and we too as Township Committee members have found some of RPM's actions to be disrespectful, to put it nicely. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Off of Frank's last point there on RPM, they put in writing calling Milburn Shore Hill residents as inmates running the asylum. So I don't think anything could be more disgusting or demeaning than that statement. So we'll leave it at that. So Mr. Bambera, we agree with you. Thank you. Not a whole lot here, Jay. Big thank you, big believer in in group things a lot better. When it eliminate group things a lot better than having dissenting voices. 100%. Could not agree with you more. Ms. Vallis, welcome. Thank you for everything you've done. And with respect to the flag, the Israel flag, that means a lot to me personally and to the committee. And can I say that after this? What's that? Yeah. So. Yeah. So. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later after the vote. And then once again, that was great, that moment of silence for Mr. Palumbo and for Mr. Stone.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Most of the comments were statements. There weren't a lot of questions. Just to be clear, we have not approved the flag is part of a resolution. All we've approved so far is changing the agenda to include it. So that's coming. But I appreciate it's nice to see sometimes people coming out making comments thanking us for what we do. It's not all adversarial. So I enjoyed seeing that tonight. Thank you.
I also just want to thank everyone for their comments tonight, positive comments. I also feel Town Hall Plaza is going to be successful this summer. I know it will be. The only thing I want to add about the last meeting with the HPC appointment was that I was upset that volunteer's information was made public, whether it was his credentials, his background, what he brought to the group. I thought that was only known amongst the committee. So I don't know how that information did get out there, but I just want to remind everyone that, I don't know, I'm not making any accusations or anything, but that information needs to stay within the committee.
I believe that information was on LinkedIn. So I believe that's how some of those
I'm not
individuals
accusing
found their
anyone. I just
professional
made a
background.
statement.
I'm just saying.
I just made a statement. Thank you, but it was embarrassing, to watch that the last meeting. Oh, sorry.
So on 22 East Willow, that closing is imminent. Mr. Cantor can add some color to that. However, just to answer the question of where the funding is coming from, the Township Committee last year passed a ordinance to fund that purchase in the amount of $2.2 million. The bond was actually for 2.5 in anticipation of any repairs or minor work that might be needed to be done to the property. But the purchase price is 2.2, and that was already authorized by the Township Committee. We had anticipated closing on April 5th. However, that's been delayed slightly. Just in terms of more trees on Milburn Avenue, I know Ms. Eglo and I have had this discussion in the past as well, and certainly I think we're always open and looking for additional opportunities to plant trees, but we've also planted 72 trees in the downtown area. Sometimes these are constrained by various factors: underground utilities, storefronts, wires above the tree, things like that. So not every space is feasible, but certainly always open to explore additional opportunities for street trees. To Mr. Moriali's comments about the rest of the road paving, we will have a one-pager that we've put out the last few years describing the road reconstruction projects for 2024, locations, funding, all of that. And that can be found on the Township's website. Not up there yet, but it will be. And just to add some clarification to the resolution about the advertisement for bids on parking lot retaining walls, agree that we could have had a little bit more clarification on it. That is for the paper mill lots A and B, which are not the property that we are in the process of purchasing. but it is for the one of the projects that was described. You know, in the presentations about the funding for the paper mill, there is a retaining wall issues on lots A and B, ice sheeting and water intrusion on those lots, and that is the advertisement for that.
Thank you, Mayor. As to the 22 Willow closing, it's just been slightly delayed. We're just waiting for clearance from the title company. We think it should close this week, either probably Thursday, if I had to guess. As to the resolution that's on for tonight, I just want to give some clarification. It's not allowing the township to put the Israel flag on the pole because it's a pole and they can raise a flag without a resolution. What this resolution does is, as a protective resolution, there was a Supreme Court case called Shirtlift v. City of Boston, and it's cited in the resolution, and it contrasted two different municipalities. And the idea is we don't want our flagpoles to become a public forum. We want to maintain control over flagpoles so that any flag request by any member of the public, it shields us from having to put every request and every flag up. What we're saying is, and it comes right from the Supreme Court's decision, that this is the decision of this committee to put this flag up. So the flagpole is not a public forum, it's an expression of government. And unfortunately, there's groups out there that take advantage of certain situations, and when they see flags go up, they come to municipalities and they say, put my crazy flag up because you put this flag up. And I'm not judging anybody's flag, but you can't stop them from doing that. It becomes a limited public forum, just like we can't stop what you say at the microphone. The microphone is a limited public forum. So what this resolution does is it protects the town from Millburn and allows this committee to make control of its flagpole as not a non-public forum. It's a form of public speech for this committee. As to Mr. Fell's point as to whether or not it should be a resolution or ordinance, the committee wanted to get the flag up as quickly as possible in response to what's been happening in the world. I don't want to speak for them. So a resolution will protect us in this instance, and as Mr. Fell's right, I understand municipal law. It does have, it will sunset. I think this committee is committed to possibly introducing an ordinance to permanently put this in place. But I just want to say this ordinance does not compel them to put flags on. It just is advising everyone that these flags are being put up as public, as government speech, and not as from residents' request. It's just to protect the township. And the word commemorative, if we want to strike it from the resolution, I think it's superfluous, but again, I think that Deputy Mayor pointed out, we list the actual flags that we're currently permitted to put on our flags, and we could always add to them. So I don't think it takes away from it.
Consent agenda items. May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-122 through resolution 24-127, which are listed on the consent agenda?
I have a question on that, on the consent. So it seemed to me that there, Alex, I know we talked about it, but I'd like you to talk about it again in front of at the meeting. There seemed to be a lot of property tax appeals that we're settling, more than I've ever seen in the year and a half that I've been doing this. And that seems seemed unusual to me. So I asked about that, and I know you explained it to me, but it would be great if you could explain it to the public why that's happened.
So the township is consistently under appeal for property taxes, and sometimes those numbers are quite high. Sometimes we're able to settle these and get them off the docket quickly. We have approximately 200 pending tax appeals in the township. Unfortunately, this has been has become a little bit of a business for some attorneys, where they automatically file appeals. Sometimes people that own the homes don't even know they're filing appeals. And it is something that needs to be further discussed and addressed, not only by the committee, but also by our tax assessor's office. So I think that's something we'll be discussing in the future. But if you feel like you've seen more, I think that we're pretty consistent in the number of appeals that we receive. And sometimes they take longer to get off of the docket. Sometimes there are multiple years, multiple dockets when it comes to the appeals. But this has become somewhat of an automatic business. Especially in this community. I'm assuming that other communities are feeling the same type of pinch.
You think it's going to spur a townwide reassessment?
No, I think our ratio would end up doing that, before that happens. You know, right now, I think the township's ratio is about 83.5, so, you can anticipate that, sometime in the future, next year or two, maybe three, we'll see some sort of reevaluation based on that ratio, but I don't think the appeals would spur that. It would be our ratio.
So may I have a motion? Or do you want me to repeat it? A motion to approve resolution 24-122 through resolution 24-127, which are listed on the consent agenda.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Second
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-128? May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-128?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Second
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-129? May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-129?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Second
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Okay, I am going to introduce ordinance 2671-24. Our sponsor, I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance 2671-24. An ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn, Chapter 11, Tree Preservation. The purpose of this ordinance is to make permanent changes to the township's tree preservation code. The tree preservation code, including various fees and definitions, has not been updated since 2015. The following revisions will reflect the increase in tree prices, fees for tree removal, a desire to protect trees on construction sites, and establish a registration process for tree removal companies to ensure quality tree work in the township. In addition, several definitions have been added to the tree preservation ordinance to further guide residents and tree companies doing tree-related work or general construction in the ordinance. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with the law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Second
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Okay, ordinance 2672-24. I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance 2672-24, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn, Chapter BH4, Retail Food Establishments. The purpose of this ordinance is to make permanent a change to Chapter BH4, Retail Food Establishments, to establish a reinspection fee. The New Jersey State Retail Code NJAC 824 requires that the local health authority inspect every retail food establishment as often as it deems necessary. In order to ensure compliance with health and safety standards of the state of New Jersey, this ordinance will establish a reinspection fee of $150. A new section BH4-2.11 will establish under Chapter BH4 for this purpose. The existing license fees for retail food establishments will remain in effect. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on final reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 12th, 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Second
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Committeeman Stoller, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2673-24.
Thank you. I would like to present an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2673-24, temporary closure of Town Hall Plaza between Essex Street and Milburn Avenue pursuant to NJ.S.A.40:67-16.9 in the Township of Milburn, County of Essex, New Jersey. The purpose of this ordinance is to establish a temporary street closure pursuant to NJSA 40:67-60.9 on Town Hall Plaza between Milburn Avenue and Essex Street for outdoor dining and permitted uses beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending September 2nd, 2024. As you know, this is the street right next to Town Hall. This is really the compromise. The community came together and for programming and for community and bringing the families out, et cetera, versus closing Main Street between Essex and Milburn Avenue. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law and the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Committeeman Stoller, you're scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2665-24.
Good. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2665-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 3 Police Regulations of the Code of the Township of Milburn to add a new Section 3-4 entitled Resident Protection. Ordinance summary. This ordinance amends and supplements Chapter 3 Police Regulations of the Code of the Township of Milburn to add a new Section 3-4 entitled Resident Protection to prohibit trespass for the purpose of committing a crime, including tampering with or committing the theft or unlawful taking of a motor vehicle, breaking and entering, burglary, and home invasion. Tonight is the time for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open. Anyone?
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with the law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Committeeman Cohen, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2666-24.
Excuse me. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2666-24, an ordinance amending the Township Code of Milburn by amending Chapter 2 entitled Administration by creating new Section 2-49 entitled Nepotism Policy. Tonight is the time set for public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
My name is Jeffrey Feld, a Milburn resident in the Poet section. I just basically want answers to what questions I asked when it was introduced. There was a delay in adopting this best practice ordinance, and at the last meeting, you did make a change of like one word. And the real one is two really issues, is clarity as to what boards and commissions would be subject to this nepotism policy. Because there's a question of what are advisory committees excluded, or is it just listed to all the committees or boards that you have to file an ethics disclosure statement? I think if we are upfront saying what boards we think are applicable to this would help people. And also, I think the public's entitled to know who's being grandfathered by this ordinance. Because we delayed adopting it, best practices should have been done like last year. Is there any person on the board or commissions or employees that are grandfathered by this new nepotism policy? Thank you.
Anyone online?
I'm just
I'm sorry, did you want to answer or just?
yeah, I just wanted to answer the easy
Okay.
one. I'll leave the hard one to you. The word change was just was incorrect. It was a before that should have been an after. So that was just, it made no sense the way it was written originally. It was just a miswording of the word. So that did not change the meaning. As for who's grandfathered, I know that I'll leave to you. If that's something we have to disclose, we need to disclose.
I mean, if you're asking me, you don't have to disclose that, and I think that the ordinance is clear on its face.
Would you like to add anything, Mr. McCollum? Okay, Committeeman.
Okay, I move that the public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2667-24.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2667-24. Ordinance designating the Short Hills Village Historic District as a historic district pursuant to the Historic Preservation Ordinance of the Township of Milburn. Tonight is the time set for public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
Mayor, for the record, we received some comments today from 85 Woodland Road LLC. I see their attorney in the audience. I had a conversation with him, so I just want to note for the record that the objection to the ordinance was accepted. It's being reviewed, and I'm going to put a call into the attorney tomorrow.
Thank you. Anyone from the public? Anyone online? Okay.
I move that this public hearing be closed and that the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes. Committeeman Cohen, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2668-24.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled Ordinance Number 2668-24, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn, Chapter 5, Boards, Committees, and Commissions. Statement of purpose. The purpose of this ordinance is reestablishing the Shade Tree Advisory Board and establish the appointment of members by resolution and simple majority vote of the Township Committee. The Township further wishes to establish the general functions of the Shade Tree Advisory Board for reference to future members of the board. Tonight is the time set for public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any old business, new business, zoning definitions. Would you like to?
Yeah, just by brief introduction, we have a few zoning ordinance definitions that need to be addressed. And we have Mark Linser from Topology here tonight to describe this to the Township Committee in the hopes that there will be consensus to move forward with these zoning definition changes at the next Township Committee meeting for introduction.
Good evening, committee members. For those who don't know me, who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Mark Linser. I work with Philip Abramson, Grant Petto with Topology as a township planner. As McDonald mentioned, the ordinance is limited to only a handful of definitions, whether they're amendments or new definitions to address some priority items that have been sticking points for the boards and as well for the township as a whole. These fall generally into three groups, some residential bulk standards, including adding a definition to basement, amending the definition of floor area ratio residential, as well as including definitions for a story, or amending the existing definition for a story and adding a definition for a half story. These are all somewhat interrelated to each other, with some having greater priority than others. The two or three most important ones in this case being the floor area ratio residential definition. This speaks to massing intensity of 1 to family homes in the township, and the existing definition is outdated in relation to ordinances that have been passed previously. Specifically, it's limited to contemplation of only the first and second floors of homes. So for example, we now have permission for a half story, 2.5 stories maximum in the residential districts. So any half story would not be permitted. We also don't define a half story yet, which is where those two definitions come into play. In addition, the story amendment explicitly excludes basements from consideration towards the FAR, which is why in turn basement is defined. Then the second group of definitions pertain to garages, both the residential kind, whether attached or detached, those being called private garages, as well as non-residential parking like surface lots and structured parking. These are not currently defined by the code, even though they're used throughout in various regulations, whether they're permitted uses or requiring all homes to have a garage. And what we've been hearing from the zoning board in particular is cases where someone provides a token garage that, whether by design or scale, cannot feasibly accommodate an actual vehicle and meet the intent of the ordinance. So in turn, that is stipulated within the garage private definition included in this ordinance to, one, define what a garage is, both by providing accommodation for that parking space, as well as ensuring there is sufficient clearance to access that parking. Associated definitions for detached and attached garages, as well as structured parking and surface parking. And lastly, amending the existing definition for public use. This is intended to better capture modern public activities, whether they be on or off land owned by the township, to facilitate the town's ongoing operations under the township development regulations and zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Does anyone from the committee have any questions?
I just wanted to say I confirm with Deputy Mayor Sacamani. This did surface at our new or newly expanded zoning code review subcommittee, which is our process now. So, and it does have to apply it. So it's important that we follow that process that we just established.
Anyone else have any comments?
I have a comment. You know, seems like a basement, a story, a half story, garage would pretty much be solidified here in 2024. You know, wires, in terms of the definition, is it being changed or redefined for a certain reason? Or I'm just trying to understand the genesis of why we're redefining these concepts.
Mm-hmm. I touched on a few of these, and I'll try and summarize them in the groups that I discussed them in. Regarding the garages, you know, these things can be evident on face until someone finds the loophole or tries to play with a definition. And generally speaking, it's the best practice when we don't have something defined in the code, but it's an operative term, whether that's as a permitted use or in some kind of regulation, it just leaves the potential for unintended consequences and removes agency from the township. And as well, particularly with the garage situation, I described the particular need in that case, and then the broader set of definitions are just for a comprehensive incorporation of garage definitions.
Can you give me an example of an unintended consequence?
So, for example, regarding the surface parking lot definition, for example.
I mean, for a garage.
Sure. Well, the prior example that I gave regarding an undersized garage, you know, you put on a door, but the clearance is too low, or the walls are too tight, or you lay it out in such a way where you can't get a car into that garage safely or physically.
So for a home that's built 150 years ago, like mine, it has a very low garage. Can I build a bigger one under that definition to become a garage? Or I'm just trying to follow here.
So any existing condition is protected as an existing either conforming or non-conforming condition. So no one is obligated to have to go and remodel the garage to make sure it meets some kind of modern standard. I do note that the private definition only speaks in 2 dimensions about clearance to the side and the front and the back of a vehicle. It doesn't provide for a minimum clearance for a garage. But yeah, the intent is not to encumber existing homeowners and their garages.
Okay, so this is looking forward.
Yes.
But I think the point there is too, is if you build a pseudo,
If you build a pseudo garage, you do that to get more on your actual property, right? Like in terms of the mass and the size of the building that you're building. So you're required to build a garage, but you only build a shed, because there's no clear definition.
And I just find it hard to believe we don't have a definition of a garage, but okay.
No, you'd be surprised, some of these things have been on the books for a while and, as, Matt pointed out, people have found loopholes. So in this particular instance, what was happening is you would have people come building houses and shrinking the garages so that they could maximize their interior space. They shrunk the garages so much that you couldn't really fit a modern car inside. And, that can be problematic going forward, especially if that neighborhood is one that requires there to be a garage. If you build a non-functional garage, then that's going to force someone to park outside and not be able to use it properly as a garage. So it's important as these loopholes come up and as these problems are found within the existing codes that we rectify them. And what's happening is people are having to go before the zoning board of adjustment, et cetera, et cetera. So codifying these things helps prevent people from having to necessarily.
But in a perfect world, don't we want to go away from cars? We want walkers, we want bikers, we want environmentally friendly homes. I would do nothing more than get rid of my cars to be able to walk and bike everywhere. So, how does that fit in?
I find that ironic considering you just got a new vehicle. You could have got a bicycle instead, or an electric Vespa. But no, I think if the zoning requires you to have a garage that's intended to be able to house a modern vehicle, you'd be doing a disservice to the neighborhood and the potential property values in the future if said garage could not accommodate a modern car.
I also think some of those definitions are lacking because everybody says, oh, we know what a garage is, we don't have to define it until somebody stretches that definition.
Exactly.
In a way to get something else that they want, so this helps.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what the actual definitions are.
So we have a consensus to move forward?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, public comment. This public comment period is to allow for final comments from the community. When invited to offer your comments, please come to the lectern. Clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and or property owner or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and are readily available to the public. A reminder that in order to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. Would anyone like to speak?
Hi, Debbie Frank, Township resident. Just wanted to say, as an aside, every year I get 2 or 3 letters in the mail, to your point, asking me from attorneys, offering me their services to file tax appeals, which I must say I've never taken them up on, but still, I do get it. So I'm sure if I'm getting them, a lot of other people are getting them. What I wanted to just kind of mention was the issue of street trees. I know that just as someone who would go down, I still miss those big gorgeous trees that used to line Rector Street. I mean, old shade trees, they were beautiful. But in terms of Milburn Avenue, I would think that there's also, aside from the wires and things like that, there's also a challenge with the amount of paving because it doesn't necessarily accommodate the spread of roots. They can't grow really underneath the paving, which means that they are much more liable to be blown over in a storm and do a tremendous amount of damage. So my guess is that in terms of street trees in heavily paved areas, you're kind of limited as to what trees you can put in, and you always need to be cognizant of the fact that you are doing the trees and the people and the businesses no good if you are planting trees that will be vulnerable to storms, which we're getting more of.
Thank you.
I'm Jeffrey Feld, and Milburn resident. First, I want to thank Christine and her staff and how they respond to Oprah. they give us the documents when they receive them. Hopefully you can investigate whether we can put a link of the recording meetings on the agenda center. So like next to the minutes, you could be able to link the recorded meetings. The reason I say that, an issue arose regarding a planning board hearing where I gave sworn testimony and comments, and I'm omitted from the minutes. The minutes do not reflect that I spoke, and 3 other people who were sworn in are referenced in those minutes. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Like that. I think we should have a little disclosure about, there was a case management conference yesterday at Bear Properties. Even though Mr. Cantor is the attorney of record, trial attorney, he did not appear. There were certain statements that were made, representations that were made to the court. One, that it's the decision of the township committee, who's the defendant in that case, to litigate and not mediate this matter. And I don't know if that's really the position of the current township committee, but that was said to the judge. It was kind of outrageous that the associate said it took 3 months to obtain the file since the substitution of counsel, because there was substituted counsel in mid-January, and they said you just received the file. The judge made some comments. One, he's well aware of Judge Santomaro's decision and the press releases that came out about the community. And because I brought him up to speed about certain decisions by various judges, state decision about bringing the boundaries in of the Main Street application. And he sort of said, Mr. Phil, if we do go to trial, this is a roadmap to get that information into the court. And that's usually a strange thing in a case management conference where the judge is giving me advice as to the procedural roadmap. But I think the public is entitled to know if it's really the policy and the position of this new calendar year 2024 committee, because I guess they replaced the defendant, that you want to litigate and not mediate. And even though Judge, in April 2021, so Essex County Civil Presiding Judge Moore highly recommended that you mediate and not litigate this statutory dispute.
Thank you.
Jay Morreale, resident. First, kudos on the selection of Town Hall Plaza as an alternative site for the street closure. Like others, Dave Cosgrove and Diane Eglow, I think this is a great solution. You've got restaurants like Saigon Cafe and La Strada that don't need to cross Essex or Milburn. Hopefully they'll participate in there. If there is concern about safety, I know we got a flashing crosswalk on Milburn Avenue. If we need to put one on Essex, fine. All in all, I think this is a great solution that continues the outdoor dining experience started during COVID and eliminates any hindrance to emergency services, to motorists, and reduces neighborhood cut-through traffic. So kudos for that. And I'm not even sure who came up with the idea, but kudos. It's a great solution. I'd like to go back to my point and just reiterate the statement I made. And I said, I hope that the TC does not disqualify anyone because of their professional experience. I did not say they should not take it into account. I did not say there may be cases where it would be preferable. There was a resident who, after listing and a volunteer's professional background, said that they were unqualified. And my point is, you should not disqualify people. Now, Deputy Mayor Saccomandi, you seem to be indicating that you thought maybe they should be disqualified because some required a preference, but that is not what I said. My point was simple. Do not disqualify people based on their professional experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a really bad voice, I'm sorry. Jean Pasternak. I'd like to express my condolences to the families of the Palumbo and Stone. And I also like to remind people that Jesse Liu also passed recently. He was an exemplary town volunteer. He sat on the Board of Education for a number of years, and he had other significant volunteer positions. So I hope we can include him in our thoughts and prayers. I really like Diane's suggestion about considering renaming the paper mill, or at least considering it. I'd also like to ask Alex about the Memorial Day Parade insurance. Does every organization have to get a policy, which ran about $700? It puts a burden on volunteer organizations, and I understand there may be liability, but it is a burden, so. The other thing I wanted to ask about was the Bear Properties hearing. I also listened, and I wonder why it's the policy of the town to litigate this issue of a municipal statutory interpretation. I think mediation makes total sense. It seems wasteful, public spending to get into a trial and a legal battle with neighbors. I hope that the town will meet with the parties and try to find a compromise through mediation. And I want to comment, I do disagree with Jay and the mayor's characterization of the discussion and public comments at the last meeting about the HPC appointment. It sounded a little bit like an attempt to embarrass us and chill our speech. We're sincere residents. We have legitimate, honest concerns. Both the chair and the TC liaison expressed their needs, and there was only the intention by all to ensure this critical land use committee got an appropriately experienced member appointed. We should desire this for all our committees. This kind of vetting has been somewhat absent, it seems, for far too long. Political appointees seem to be the name of the game, and I think it's changing, and I'm glad to see that. I applaud Frank's adherence to his campaign promise to ensure committees and boards seek to have as members the most experienced and appropriately qualified volunteer members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again, Diane Aglow. I didn't say this in the first, I didn't have time, but I zoomed into the last TC meeting and realized many people may not have the agenda in front of them as they zoom in. And we did not. And actually some of the audience may not have it. And a quick moment to read the item would add to the transparent and clearer understanding of what you were voting on. Just hearing a resolution or item number or a batch of number provides little or no context. Thank you, Mayor, you responded to me. You said it wasn't done that way, but actually Mayor Burstein and me, we did read what the resolutions were, even if it's just saying tax appeals. I'm not clear what this flag policy is. So you held up like a 2-page document, but I have no idea what that is. And, you know, obviously I'm very pro-Israel. Our daughter lived there for 5 years. I've been there several times, but now will a pro-Palestinian flag, will somebody come up and want to raise that? I don't know. I think I was part of the whole BLM flag movement, and it was very divisive. It got very angry. And I remember saying at the time, we need a policy. So if this is the policy, I think before you voted on it, you should have showed it to the public. I have no idea what it is. I would like to know before you passed it, but you've passed it already. Alex, you know, I've heard every reason why not to plant trees on Milburn Avenue. Milburn Avenue is a cement street. And there, you look at Chatham and Madison, I'm in New York City, they have trees everywhere. They have a lot of cement. I just think, you know, you go down Milburn Avenue, it's not attractive. The whole way from Town Hall all the way up to Oscars. Oh, all the way up to Footnotes, there's no trees. So we call ourselves a tree city. The neighborhoods are beautiful. My family plants trees constantly on our property. The other thing is, thank you, Jean. I hope we can get a little movement going on changing Paper Mill's name, since we keep investing millions in dollars on their behalf. And it should be the Milburn Regional Public Playhouse or Theater. But I believe as they keep asking for millions and saying what benefit Milburn is getting, Milburn's got the benefit. Well, we should have the naming rights. And maybe when Mayor and Alex goes to the next board meeting, which are not open to the public, I haven't heard one report. Do you go to the board meetings, Mayor?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought the mayor was allowed to go now.
Well, yeah, but I work during the day and I'm on 7 committees. I don't go to that one.
Oh,
I haven't gone yet, but.
Well, it would be nice to hear a report what goes on at that board meeting before they come and ask for another like multiple $1 million infusion of cash. Thank you. Like, where is their capital fund drive? How's that going? Looking for $40 million. And I'm not anti-paper mill. It's not about that. It's about the ask.
If I may weigh in on the Paper Mill Playhouse naming, I think the Paper Mill Playhouse name is known far and wide nationally perhaps internationally. I think it would be a mistake to move away from the term paper mill, perhaps put Millburn in front of it and call it the Millburn Paper Mill Playhouse. But I don't think renaming it from something that is recognized so widely would be a wise decision. I'm sorry to dissent with some of the others, but I think, and thanks again. And Committeeman Cohen, you said it was unusual to hear so many accolades. I think they're deserving. I think you all deserve accolades and thanks for the job you're doing. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Richie Seibert, Millburn resident. I just want to say that I think it's a beautiful opportunity to put that Israeli flag on the flagpole. Israel is very important to the United States, to a lot of people that live in this town, to people in the world. I think it's a great statement. I think a lot of other towns will follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before we?
Yeah. Antonio Vaca, Township resident. First and foremost, thank you for all the work you guys did on Town Hall Plaza. You guys know that was near and dear for me, and I appreciate the fact that you guys conceded it and came up with a solution other than that. I had a little bit of a brain hiccup before on one of the what you sponsored about the burglary and protection. I guess my question is, my family comes first, and maybe this is even a better question for the gentleman in the corner. As a legal firearms holding resident, which is safely tucked away, is there a boundary? Is there a boundary to protecting yourself to what could possibly happen? Okay. Next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before we go to the video? Anyone online?
Yeah, three.
Christine Best getting back online. I'm going to interrupt my regularly scheduled program about the police presence. And by the way, I love the police in this town. They're awesome. I want to talk about the groupthink issue and the directed comments that were indirectly directed at me tonight. Ms. Romano, I was not embarrassed by my choice to attempt to get on a committee. I've actually tried to get on a lot of committees, and I've written resumes and letters, never got an interview. As an HR manager, I am sure, I'm sorry, I know you're an executive, so I apologize. As an HR executive, I'm sure you're aware of what LinkedIn is, and it is a public resume site. I scoured his LinkedIn site. That's it. And you're allowed to do that, as most people do. Implying that a member of the TC committee gave me information that's already on LinkedIn is a deflection. I have every right to point out someone's lack of skills for a committee. Another example of political shaming. Committee members are drivers of our township strategy. They count a lot. Well, the gentleman is a lovely person, and I quite like his personality, and he speaks beautifully. He did have preferential treatment, and he was obviously tipped off to bring in-person references to a meeting. No one told me I could bring in-person references to a meeting. And that no one in the committee told me that, just letting you know. You also know that you should hire as an HR executive and select on merit, not other check-the-box issues, or for shifting political needs that are desired of the township. That is not to say someone without experience, as Jay Moriali pointed out, cannot be on a committee Clearly, there's lots of that. And I'm sure if there was a committee that I wasn't experienced on, but I had passion. This man has no passion for this committee. He wants to dismantle it. It's very, very obvious. And he has no skills. So I pointed that out. And I find it a little strange. Honestly, it really comes across as something that doesn't look legit. That's how I feel. If I offended somebody, I greatly apologize, but I'm here to tell the truth and do what's best for Milburn Township. Now, getting back to the police officers, I don't have much time. I just wanted to point out, how do we give $7 million to Paper Mill Playhouse for their bathroom renovations and other things, which are supposedly safety issues? And we have 2.5 policemen on duty at night. We need 18 cops, actually, 18. And I'm like, so if we gave them 125, and I don't know what they make, so maybe they make more. I'm just estimating. It's like what, $1.8 million? Didn't we spend like $8 to $10 million on the complete streets fiasco? And now we're talking about redirecting traffic again. I mean, can we just have a safe town? I mean, can you imagine when word gets out that you actually
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time's up. Thank you.
patrol on your own? So thank you so much, Annette.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Perry Urso. How are you tonight?
Good.
I'd just like to kind of echo what Diane Eglo was saying. I apologize if I'm at work right now. I think she mentioned something about the item. So I'd like to bring this current TC up to something that I spoke about probably in 2021, when I first got involved in 2020, that I came to the real understanding that the township actually gets paid franchise fees in the sum of, I don't know what the recent number is, and perhaps you could tell me, but somewhere over $300,000. And part of that contract with the franchise fees is that we're given a channel, local access channel. And I'm wondering if that's something that you would like to give light to and bring back to life. That would be wonderful. Also, I'm sorry, as a representative of Bear Properties, I was also on that case. The representative, attorney Saboni, that I guess was, he didn't say, let the audience know or the judge know his actual position, but was he actually filling in for Attorney Cantor? And he publicly stated during that conference that the Township of Milburn, his clients, which is the Township of Milburn, is not interested in a mediation. I've heard that with a prior township committee, publicly stated by, at the time, he was not a deputy mayor, but Committeeman Vignac says we will litigate to the end because we can. So I'm not sure if that's the feeling of this current TC, but my attorney has multiple times tried to, get in a room and let's talk about this. I mean, we're very approachable, and I just don't understand that why we can't come to some type of and get in a room and have a conversation. So thank you. And I would appreciate maybe a raise of hands of which TC members choose to litigate and not mediate. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. One more.
Yes, Sarah Sherman, resident. I want to thank Mr. Cantor for clarifying for me that the flagpole will not become a public forum, but is an expression of government. So I'm going to agree with him that perhaps the term commemorative is superfluous, even though it is in there. And I have to say, I'm going to agree with former Mayor Eglo that just having a number for a resolution for someone, and I do read all the agendas, is not very helpful. It would really have helped if someone had read the resolution. I'm certainly in support of it and in support of raising the flag of Israel, but it just sort of was added at the very beginning. No one knew what it was, and then all of a sudden it was voted on. So I would have liked to know. So please consider in the future, if you're adding something like that, that you be a little more explicit in advance. Thank you.
Thank you. We're done, right? Yes. Okay, so I will close public comment. Mr. Cantor, would you like to respond?
I just respond quickly on the Bear Properties litigation. It's been my legal opinion that the committee not address pending and active litigation and given to litigation strategy and whether or not mediation is appropriate or not, is something to discuss with the committee in close if we like. But I will say for the record that there is under New Jersey law, there is mandatory mediation. There is a mediation scheduled. It's 2 hours free to the litigants, and that is being scheduled. So there will be a mediation in the matter.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to offer any comments to?
Yeah, so to that point, and I know what Jared just said, but you know, as a TC member, I'm always about mediation versus litigation. And I'll put that right out there. And it's my understanding that there is a mediation scheduled for a 2-hour event, correct?
It can go longer, but the mediator donates 2 hours of his time to the litigants.
Okay, but that is on the calendar to happen.
Yes.
Very good. And then, you know, Mr. Feld, for the procedural roadmap that the judge is asking you to lay out, please, you know, lay out the information highway for the judge if they've requested it. As requested, that's a great benefit to everyone. Jay Moriali and Antonio Braca. I'm going to defer to our attorney about gun safety rules, but Jay throws a fantastic gun safety seminar and puts on a was it the Orange that hopefully you can come to town again and put on, you know, for guns in the home, obviously stowed away, but in a safe, locked, etc. Always best practice, and he does a fantastic job. So hopefully Jay will bring that back to the Township Committee sometime soon. In terms of the paper mill playhouse, I think that's, you know, that's put to bed. I think it's being somewhat mischaracterized. It's not a giveaway. It's an investment in the future of Millburn. We're getting a direct local impact of $3.8 million per year, which is about 375 patrons dining in MSH prior to an event. By the way, I saw Gun and Powder this weekend. It was fantastic. It will be on Broadway soon, believe you me. Just a fantastic show. Also, in terms of the paper mill, you know, we ended up putting in $7 million investing in the paper mill, 3.8 million, or $7 million, $5.8 million 30-year bond. In return, we're getting, you know, we had a $1.8 million property. We're getting for the next 30 years, $3.8 million direct impact on our town spending, et cetera. We're getting the entire $36 million of capital improvements on a 9-acre property that we own outright. We own the building outright. We own all of the contiguous land underneath it outright, et cetera. So let's not mischaracterize it as a giveaway. It is an investment in our town, and culturally and educationally as well, for this town. What else do we have here? Richie Seibert, thank you on the Israeli flag for the support. Igor as well. We will be raising the flag at the end of the meeting tonight. After the meeting's adjourned, we're going to go outside and raise the flag of Israel. So I hope if you're here, you can stick around and participate. And let's wish the Knicks luck in the playoffs. I see you have your Knicks shirt on. So, all right, thank you.
Committeeman Cohen? Deputy Mayor?
I do have a comment. So for Mr. Morielli, we certainly don't disqualify people based on their professional experience. My reasons for wanting to disqualify the individual for the HBC last week was because that individual had taken a public position against historic preservation. And in my opinion, that would be like appointing a climate denier to the Environmental Commission. It doesn't seem like the appropriate thing to do. And that's why I stood firmly against it. So I just wanted to make that clear since it's come up a number of times. Mr. Feld, as you've heard, sounds like there's going to be a mediation scheduled. So based on that, I would say, you know, the town is mediating. So I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Mr. Braca, I don't know that it would be appropriate for the township committee to weigh in on the legal complications of using a firearm for self-defense. I know that in New Jersey, it's quite complicated. I think there's a duty to retreat, even though we do have a castle doctrine. So I would suggest that you perhaps seek professional counsel to get an answer to that question, because I think it is an important question. And I think that people in town should know what they are and aren't allowed to do. I just don't know if this committee is the appropriate body to make, give legal advice. Let's see. Ms. Aglow, I think the reason that we refer to the ordinances by number is it would take quite a while to go through and read out the title of each ordinance, especially when we have, a list of resolutions. We do make the agendas available on the front desk. So anyone that comes to the meeting can pick it up. If people are attending online, we have the agendas posted online. So people can follow along. I do get what you're saying, but I find myself, I have to follow along and look, and then I know what the item is. If there's consensus to read it out, we can explore that. But I think that, some of these are pretty long in their description.
Just the title.
Yeah, I mean, some of these titles are like, 5 lines.
Authorized tax appeal, authorized tax appeals.
I do appreciate your comments about the paper mill. This is an area where Mr. Stoller and I disagree. I do think that the millions that were given to the paper mill are more of a giveaway. I think the paper mill could certainly have raised the additional $7 million that they needed from their donors. They have some fantastic donors, and they've been able to raise a lot of capital in the past. And I think in light of the fact that our town bailed them out in 2008, and that the lease payments that were set up then were supposed to help fund that bailout, by then giving them, this bonus set of money, it's really the town getting into the theater business. And I don't know that the town has any business getting into the theater business. And I also think that there was a misrepresentation. Everyone talked about how it's important to support the paper mill, and they made it sound like we'll lose all of the economic activity that it generates if we don't give them the money. Well, the thing is, they're not increasing capacity in their seating, right? So as a result of that, they're not going to be bringing in more revenues. It's not like there's going to be more business going to the town. I don't think they were going to go anywhere, considering that they had, quite a bit of time left on their lease. So I think there are other options. So I thank you for bringing that up, and I thank you for remaining a reliable voice of opposition when you see misuse of public funds.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Mr. McDonald?
Just one comment, Ms. Pasternak, I responded to your email regarding insurance.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Good night. Thank you.